Hey guys, welcome back to another stream. Oh, thank you for bearing with me with the technical issues. First of all, Creative Cloud was bugging out and wouldn't let me in. And then I started up the stream and OBS crashed. So it's not the best start, but it can only get better from here. Hi, hello everyone in the chat. How are you all doing? It's so nice to see so many of you from all the previous streams. We've got Sema, The Archaic Way, Artur, Algeria, DZ, Raouf, hello Radwan, welcome, Anuj, Graphic Up, Anuj Patel, Raouf Abad, The Thesis, welcome back. Oh, it's so amazing. And today we're going to be doing a design review. Mike Phelps, welcome. That Dansky music intro was way too short today. Yeah, lots of technical issues. Ha! Morning, my friend. Hello, Jawad. Right, we're going to dive straight into it because, as always, there are many designs that people have kindly submitted, and I don't have enough time to review them all. But I've selected a bunch of different ones that I think, it's a nice variety. So we're going to dive headfirst into it. Hopefully, my Photoshop's going to open up. Right, let's do this. Okay. Arena, one-stop Apple store. I'm not entirely sure what this is for. I don't have any context, but design-wise, I love it. Probably because it's right up my street style-wise, very simple. Let me just, can I blow the screen out? There we go, that's better. That's better. So we've got some nice clean lines, a slight mixture here of sort of squared off corners, slightly rounded corners and much more rounded corners, which is always a bit of a no-no in my book anyway. Like up here you can see got quite a big radius there, pretty much none there, and sort of in between there. So I think a little bit more consistency there would be a good thing, but I love the balance, the way the A's are kind of symmetrical. There's a really nice symmetry to this. Search for tool. Go away. Do you not know who I am? Yeah, so there's a really nice symmetry to this. I love the kind of extended drop shadow effect. Really cool. I'm going to assume it's a custom font, but happy to be proved wrong on that one. It's lovely the way the kind of R and the E connect together. Yeah, really nice. I'm not entirely sure what the colors represent. As I say, I don't have any more context than that. But yeah, it looks really cool. The only thing I'm not crazy about is this tagline here, one stop Apple store. I don't know. It just feels a little bit plain, and I guess it depends where the logo would be used. You know, if the logo was on a website, it's going to be absolutely tiny, so you're not going to see that tagline. So maybe that tagline wouldn't appear underneath the logo every single time. Yeah, I don't know, font wise it just feels like it was kind of plonked on there at the end, but like a bit of an afterthought, but that's just me. But yeah, I think with a little bit of tidying up here and a bit more consistency with the curves, this is a great logo design. Obviously aside from any context, but yeah, I do like it. I like what I see, let's put it that way. Boosh. Right, next. From where do you get those designs? That's a really good point. So if you'd like to submit your work for a chance to be reviewed next Tuesday on the 11th, there is a link in the description of the stream where you can upload your work. So PSD files, Illustrator files, JPEGs, PNGs, it's all good. And I will try and get to as many as I can. Right, let's do another one. I think this might be a logo as well. Yeah, this is an interesting one. So I saw this when scrolling through. Initial impressions, it looks really cool, really great. Really nice and simple, nice punchy red. Again, I've got no context, but the word tech in there kind of leads me to believe it might be related to some kind of technology. I don't know, that's just a guess on my part. Arc Tech. So I can sort of see the A shape here. I don't know, it's a weird one. It sort of looks techie, but I can't really tell exactly what it is. What do you guys see? Can you see like something in this mark here that I can't see? because I'm not entirely sure what it's meant to be. But again, I like it regardless. Text. Yeah, the font feels like it's kind of the right sort of style, and I like the slightly rounded edges because it kind of matches the logo, so there's a nice synergy there. But there's something weird, like look at the C. Does that feel like a bit? I don't know. Those edges, they don't feel smooth. They feel like they don't know if they want to be smooth or kind of angled. It's sort of like, it's kind of like, you need to go one way or the other, really. They sort of feel angled and sharp here on the inside, but on the outside they're kind of smooth and curved. So I don't know if this is a custom font or someone's drawn this by hand, but it feels like it doesn't really know what it wants to be, you know? Hey Dan, what if you flip the last taller A to horizontal? Oh, that was on the previous one. I see a house, says Vincent Evans. Hello again, video maker, aka Roger. Abhishek says a spanner. A house, yeah, I can see the house. Spanner. Oh, well, you see on the inside. Yeah, I suppose there's a spanner in there somewhere. Architecture would be my guess. Yeah, that's probably a pretty good guess, Mark. Arc-tech. Yeah, I can kind of see that, the house sort of shape in there as well. House, furniture, I don't know, yeah, something like that. But yeah, it's another one, like, limited context. When you submit your designs, feel free to add text or whatever explaining what it is. The more context, the more, I guess, accurate I can be with any feedback. But, I mean, going on that, yeah, I like what I see. I feel like this needs a little bit more work. It needs a bit more clarity on what it is. Like, it looks cool from a visual shape perspective, if that makes sense. But I don't know if it's meant to be architecture or technology, or I don't know. I feel like there's just a bit better kind of synergy between those two kind of characteristics for this brand. So yeah, maybe another iteration or two on that one. Boosh. Let's go on to the next one. I'm going to try and go a little bit quicker today because I just never seem to get through everything. My guess is nuts, bolts, spanner. Yeah, possibly something like that. Himanshu says, which Adobe software do you mostly use? Oh, goodness. I mean, as a designer, it would be Photoshop and Illustrator all the time. As a YouTube creator video person, Premiere Pro, but then now I use a lot more After Effects for kind of animations to make the videos a bit more engaging. I did use Adobe XD, but I've kind of switched to Figma now. Did use InDesign back in the day, but I don't really do that kind of stuff anymore, that sort of client work. So yeah, mostly Photoshop and Illustrator. Maybe next time ask them to send a brief context. Yeah, that's the best thing, I think. The font kind of resembles the name lettering on American football players' jerseys. Yes, it is. It's that kind of, I think that shape's very cool and it suits the logo. It's just those curves are a little bit inconsistent. Okay. Rightio. Okay, next up. This is from Kalule Swaibu, who has submitted before, I believe. This is awesome. This is very, very clever. Really, 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 really clever. I like this. This sort of style. I'm not sure why the trademark is up there. I don't have a problem with it. It's just a bit odd. Normally it's like next to the name. That's just an observation, not a criticism. But Academy Guitar London. I love this treatment here with London. You've got these two little kind of accents here, these lines. That's really cool. Very, very clever here. We've got the hand playing the guitar. First thing I thought was, well, that's more of a ukulele than a guitar. But, if it was a guitar, the guitar would, and the neck and everything would kind of extend all the way out here. So I think it captures the essence of a guitar or a musical instrument in a very kind of simplified form. Yeah, it's really nice actually. There's not a lot. There's not a lot I would really critique about that. You know, I love the way you got these black lines kind of cutting out of the guitar, and then you've got the white kind of forming the strings. It's just really, really clever. And it's the kind of design that's, because of the clever use of black and white here, you know, this it's black and white in this example, but this could work as a really nice one color print. You know, if I was printing this in just, let's say, magenta for some bonkers reason, you'd still be able to see exactly what every element of the logo is because it works so well in this one color. Yeah, really nice. And I think because you've got the fingers here as well, the fingers are a much more natural, organic shape. So you're not necessarily going to get like the perfect smooth curves out of that I like. Abhishek says Guitar Academy. Yeah, I'm not sure if it's Guitar Academy or meant to be Academy Guitar. I don't know. That's a good question. But yeah, design-wise, that is very, very clever indeed. Max Art says, hi Dan, just tuned in. Welcome. Welcome, welcome. Rove says, how many years have you been designing? Since 2006. I mean, that was when I started my career in 2006 anyway, at my first job. Before then, I was in my bedroom on Photoshop and all that stuff. I loved Photoshop. I've been using Photoshop since I was like 17. So how many years is that? Oh, math. 20. 26? Is that right? 7? No, wait, hang on. Yeah, we'll go with that. Oh yeah, definitely a designer, not a mathematician. I've been designing for about 26 years. That doesn't sound right. Hang on, right, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna get a calculator up. I'm gonna do it. Right, so not me now, 2023 minus 2006. Yeah, so I've been designing professionally for 17 years. That doesn't add up, does it? And when did I start that? Must have been about 21, I think, when I started that. So I probably would have started designing in Photoshop about 21 years ago. Something like that, because I was still in school then. Oh dear, that was a terrible example of mathematics. Right. Swiftly moving on from bad math. Abhishek says, damn, I was 2 years old. Oh, you're a baby. Oh, I wish I could go back and be a little bit younger and do it all again. Ah, never mind. Such is life. 1 year younger than me. Yes, I'm 36 now. I actually forgot how old I was the other day. I thought I was 37. But I'm not. Yay. Right, I can't read any of this, but it looks really, really fun, and it's got cheese on it, and it's yellow, and it caught my eye. So this is for Baksu. Is that Gimbal? If anyone can speak this language, feel free to laugh at me. Right, initial impressions. No idea what this is. Guessing this is some sort of. It looks like a kind of eggy meatball dish from some other country that I've never seen before, and if I'm honest, doesn't look all that appetizing. The color of this doesn't look particularly like. I think I would probably make this a bit more saturated, so the colors kind of pop. It makes the food look a bit more tasty. This looks like it's been drawn on to sort of do just that, make it sort of stand out a bit more. So I would just make the food look a bit more appetizing, but we'll ignore the actual product itself and focus on the cheese. The cheese is excellent. I love the cheese. This is a really very suitable kind of 3D font treatment as well. Well, not 3D, but you know what I mean? Like it's layered up. We've got drop shadows and borders and strokes, and that looks really, really cool. And then a cheesy font here. I mean, you know, you got the holy cheese and then you got the cheese on the letters. I mean, come on. What else are you going to do? In fact, does keju mean cheese? I don't know. Logos along the bottom. Oh, this is a pain when you have to use different logos on something. the problem that I always found was that clients would have all their logos in completely different colors. Some logos would be good, some would be bad. When you put them together, it just looks like a mishmash of colors. Do you know what I mean? This design is very, very warm, oranges, yellows, a bit of red. And then we've got some green down here as well. And it's like, oh God, right, I've got to work with this. Sometimes you can get away with having all the logos in like a gray or a black or just one color. But it depends whether the client says, hey, I want my logo in full color because reasons. So if you can get away with having them all in one sort of solid color treatment, it can help the logos kind of stand together and not distract from the design, if that makes sense. And it just looks tidier and a bit more consistent. The black color is boring, says Ruth. I wouldn't say the black is boring. It just feels like it doesn't really belong. I don't know, it feels a bit out of place for me personally. We've got like lots of whites and yellows and oranges, lots of light colors, and it creates contrast, don't get me wrong. We've definitely got some contrast there. But it does feel like it doesn't really fit. I don't know whether you could have used this color here, this sort of really dark red for the text. I don't know. Yeah, the black feels a little bit harsh on everything else being so kind of light, but I mean the logo, that is that is something else. We'll ignore that for now. It just little thumb up there. That looks great. I like the blur on the cheese as well. As you can tell, I'm a big fan of cheese. Down here on this strip, I've already talked about the logos, but this one here, that is the client logo, but it obviously feels too high. They've sort of tried to center the circle, but then the text looks too high because it's actually positioned incorrectly on the logo anyway. So, you know, we sometimes we've got to work with what we got. Don't like the shadow, lose the shadow, you know, doesn't need it, and it looks dated. What have we got here? We've got like a platform. Yeah, that's fine, I guess. I mean, one thing I'm noticing, there's something about this image. I think the image, right? It's out of focus here. So they've shot it in a way where, you know, certain parts are in focus, some parts are out of focus. But the problem is when you cut that out and you cut it out clean, including the areas that are out of focus, and then put it on a design that is made up of all these different vector shapes that are predominantly clean, you kind of get that blur in there and it looks a bit odd. Like if you had other elements in there, or you were building out a scene, the blur would make sense. But because the blur was taken from that photo and then this product was dropped into a different design, like what I'm trying to say is this bit here is blurred, right? We're blurred at the front. Well, why is this not blurred? Why is the cheese not blurred? Do you see what I mean? So if you're going to carry the depth, if the whole product isn't kind of crisp and in focus, and you're going to introduce that depth of field and the blur from the product photo, you've got to carry that consistency through to the rest of your design, I think. So personally, I would have just shot this whole product in focus. It would have just made life a lot easier. But that's just kind of a really kind of little thing. You know, this looks like some sort of poster graphic or something square. I don't know what it is. But that's like a tiny little detail. Just the sort of thing I notice. But yeah, the white in the background. Yeah, there's something about this white splash of milk, cream, whatever it is, and this white platform that I think I'm not loving. It's sort of like it doesn't know if it wants to be realistic or not. This is sort of very kind of, I don't know, like very 3D almost. Not realistic. This is realistic. The cheese is kind of semi-realistic, and the surface definitely isn't realistic. So it's sort of a mesh of different styles. Like, is it going to be cartoony or is it going to be realistic? I don't know. There's just something. Do you know what I mean? Like, what do you guys think? Like, there's something that just looks a little bit off with it. In the hors d'oeuvre, food, egg, or cheese flowing through it, I was wondering. Hola, Sharif. Welcome. Big Rafa, can I send you a few designs? Yes, you can. The link is in the the stream description. Isn't this the 4th design? Yes, it is. Hey, Danny, are you going to review all the submitted designs or only the interesting? It's not to do with interesting. Well, a little bit. It's the ones that kind of stand out, but also it's trying to create a bit of a variety. So, you know, we're not just going to review logos. We're going to try and sort of make a bit of a mix. So, yeah, I've got to find a way to shortlist them because it's amazing that so many people submit designs, but it's just too many for me to get through in one stream. Sema says cheese squirts out of milk. Can't tell if that's a can't tell if that's satire or a statement. The Elias, what's up? Not a lot, just reviewing designs. Right, let's go to the next one. Where are we going? Down, down, down. Right, let's open it up. That's enough time on bakso kaju and cheese. Chinese design poster. This is really cool. Let's blow the screen out a bit. So this is kind of really sort of simple from a typographic perspective. This font looks really familiar, but I can't quite put my finger on which one it is. The S kind of gives it away. I want to say Axes, but I don't know. Then we've got some Chinese writing down the right, you know, a bit of text, presumably some sort of barcode or something. And this is really, really cool. See, I love this because it looks, I might be wrong, it looks like they've taken a photograph and they've converted it to black and white colors only. You can do this in Photoshop with a threshold adjustment layer. And it just creates this really cool effect. Just with 2 colors, just black and white, and then they've it looks like they tried to kind of cut away parts of the edges, or it's naturally cut away part of the edges, and then potentially blended that all over a color. Same here. It definitely is like a photo that they then converted to black and white and then laid it over, and you can do that with the multiply blending mode that will blend all the kind of it will remove the whites and then just leave all the dark areas. So they put this onto this red kind of background. It looks like a texture actually, and I think they've added a bit of noise over it as well. You can see the text has got noise on it. Banish the imbalance. Indeed. Old Shanghai Batavia. Again, no idea what it's for. I could probably read this. In its heydays in the 16th century, Batavia was known as the Queen of the East and the Jewel of Asia. Okay. Fantastic. But yeah, really, really cool. Looks like a kind of poster or a leaflet, something that you would hand out. But, oh yeah, you can see that texture there a lot more on the black. It's like the texture of a sort of, like a wall or something. But yeah, it looks really, really cool. If I were to sort of focus on the details, I'll be looking at that border. Consistent width all the way around. Very nice. I think a few of these design elements down here, I'd probably just adjust the alignment a little bit. So this bit of text here, I would try and shift that up just so it lines up with this sort of series of lines here. Also these cutaway bits, I think that's probably quite possibly a mistake. A bit there and a bit there, sort of chopped off. Yeah, I think just maybe lining a few bits up. Oh dear, spacing police is coming out. Spacing here is wider than down here. Just tightening up those little details. Again, this paragraph of text. You know, you could move this down. Obviously not like that, but move it down just so it sits centrally alongside the box. Do you know what I mean? Like if you've got different bits of text and different images or shapes like these, look at these as shapes. You know, they are things that you can line stuff up to. Like this, the barcode. It looks fine. It's not a massive issue, but why would you not just move that over a few pixels and line it up with the edge? You know, unless there's a specific reason why it's there. Just by literally moving some of these elements around a few pixels here and there, you can line different elements up and it will just make things look so much tidier. And like, you know, most people aren't going to notice that, but it's that I'm obsessed with that kind of detail. So, you know, that is a personal thing. Take it with a grain of salt, but it's the kind of thing that I do in my own work and that I look for as well in other people's work, rightly or wrongly. Reminiscent of old times, history past. Yeah, interesting. I think a lot of countries around the world, including China, have got fascinating history. I do love history, actually. It's so interesting. Thanks, bro. Send you a few graphics. Amazing. Looking forward to it. I've been using Photoshop and Adobe Illustrator for a year now, but without any courses since I finished school today. I will start several courses soon. Introduce my shameless plug. This is my Adobe Illustrator course. Quickly get that in there. It teaches everything I know. And if you'd like 15% off, sign up to my mailing list from the homepage on Dansky.com and you get a 15% off code. So yeah, that course will teach everything I know about Illustrator in about 6 hours or so. There we go. Shameless plug over. This design is cool. Using a grid is a massive help for these kind of designs. Yes, MaxArt, very true. Grids, gutters. In fact, actually, when I used to work on this stuff, like a lot of client work, flyers, posters, leaflets, brochures, magazines, all that kind of stuff, the guides would be the first thing I'd lay down. You know, new document gets created with those guides, with those margins, and I would just snap things to the margins, you know, so the spacing would always be consistent. They wouldn't kind of go outside and get too close to the edge. Haha, the OCD with us designers, I know. I know, it's a thing, isn't it? Total perfectionist. I think there's definitely got to be like a balance. You know, there is a point you get to where it's like, nobody's going to notice it. Yeah, but we're going to notice it. So, you know. Right, next up. I think this one's like another poster flyer. Ooh, delicious hot dogs. Only 100, because I've got no idea what currency that is. So if anyone knows what KSH stands for, please do let me know. Right, this is an interesting one. I kind of like it. I like it in the sense that if someone were to hand me this, I would probably be going like, oh yes, I could eat a hot dog. I'm quite hungry. The image on the top is, it's all right. Yeah, they're not too bad images wise. They're definitely brighter, like I mentioned earlier. They're definitely brighter and they look a bit more appetizing in that sense. I think that's a thing, right? That's the thing I see on a lot of menus is there are some photos that would actually look quite appetizing, but because people do it themselves in-house, they underexpose their shots, so they look darker than they should be, and it makes the food look dull and rubbish. And actually, you know, just by going into Photoshop and just brightness and contrast, that's all you need. If your shots are underexposed, which I do this a lot because I'm not a photographer, but I have to try and be sometimes, my shots always end up underexposed. Just bump up the brightness. Seriously, it's the quickest and easiest fix to make your photos look a ton better with minimal effort and zero skill required. Yo, I made it before it's too late. Welcome, Itzabitza. You did indeed. The font feels stretched and squeezed, Abhishek. Oh, we will get to that. Right, okay. This sort of swirly swoosh thing is a really nice way to kind of separate the images from the solid block of color. You know, too often there's just like a straight cut and it's boring. It's really boring. This is a really cool and creative way, and I like the flow, the way it sort of flows like this. You could even move this right one up so it actually kind of does flow seamlessly through it, possibly. I think the advantage to bringing this one a bit lower is that you get more of the image. If this is meant to be a logo, it's not my favorite. Don't know what it is. I mean, what is the name of the company? Like, it's a chef's hat, I can see that, but what's the company? Is it called Delicious Hot Dogs, or is that the product? What's the company, you know? Right. Oh, alignment. Okay, right. So I think this works. It's fine. But it could very easily be much better than fine. So deep breath, Dan. Deep breath. So I think it feels weird. I think someone said about the spacing feels off. Was it? Yeah, Abhishek, the spacing. It feels not the spacing. The font feels stretched and squeezed. It does, but it feels like it's been inconsistently stretched. This text here in yellow feels like it's squished, which might be a narrow font. It might be a narrow font, that's fine. But then the one down here, we've got this yellow text that feels like it's been stretched out. And then if we go a little bit further below, this text feels like it's just fine. It hasn't been stretched or squeezed. So they should be the same. They should definitely have the same treatment. In fact, all the text should have that treatment. If you're going to stretch text or make it narrower or use narrower or wider versions of fonts, the difference should be enough that it's clearly obvious. You know, if you're using a wide font and a narrow font together, this just feels like a complete mishmash of different widths. The alignment is all central, but then you've got the times here. This little block is left aligned. Oh, I see this so much. It drives me insane. You got to go one way or the other with it. If you're going to centrally align it, don't start left aligning in the middle of that block. If you want to do that, right, what you can do is you can add a block of color. So let's say I were to add like, or maybe I can demo this actually. Obviously the color will look a bit rubbish. Let's try this anyway. It might work. By introducing a block like this, see if I can get a, oh, yeah, that works. Obviously ignore the spacing because I'm kind of limited as to what I can do here. But by introducing a block around the text, as long as I make sure that block is central, it gives me a little bit more wiggle room as to what I can do within that block. Because instead, here we're focusing on the text and the alignment of the text in relation to everything else. As soon as I add this block, this box here, now I'm focusing on the box in relation to everything else. So what's inside the box? Well, I can play around with that a little bit more. I mean, arguably that doesn't look terrible, but you know, if you're not going to have the box, you got to be consistent with your alignment. And you know, there's a lot of discussion to be had about should you left align, should you center align. I've always been a center align person. It's like my personal preference. But and I think in this example you get away with it, right? You get away with it because there's not tons of text. If you start adding paragraphs of text and you've got lots of information, or got even worse, bullet points, you don't want to be centering that. Bullet points centered look crap. And if you've got lots of information that's centered, it makes it hard for people to scan down the text by scanning that left edge, because the left edge will move because the text is centered. Hopefully that makes sense. Hopefully it makes sense and I'm not just rambling and ranting into the microphone. Mark, a font you stretch and a narrow or wide font are not the same. No, they really aren't. They are definitely not. If I submit my design today, when will it get reviewed? Possibly next week. I get a lot of submissions, so I can only pick some. But, you know, if you submit your work with the link in the video description, there is a chance that I will review it. But I can't do all of them because I need to, you know, have a life as well. This thing over here, I'm guessing that's the currency with a price. It needs something. Whether it's a circle or a little starburst or something. If you're going to have text like that on an angle, you've got to contain it within something. Otherwise, it just looks like it's kind of floating. Regardless of the rest of the design, it's like this text here. I kind of admire it. It's rebellious. It's just like, hey, I'm on a 24-degree angle. I don't care. But, you know, as far as the rest of the design goes, it needs something to contain it, really. So we could even try and make use of this. Actually, what was that angle? Was I pretty close there? What are we doing? What are we looking at? Oh, 23. That wasn't a bad guess. Yeah. So just anything. It needs something to contain it. We'll take that off, actually. And I love this treatment here of these images with you kind of got the, the gap and then the yellow circle. That's really nice. And there is a very clear palette here. This yellow block at the bottom, get rid of that. That adds absolutely nothing to the design. It doesn't do anything. It just takes up space and it's too close to these circles and images anyway. Just get rid of that and have it nice and clean at the bottom. Yeah, again, I mean, this logo is a bit of a weird one. If there was a company name, I would probably try and, well, first I think the logo needs to be better, but the company name as well. But actually, again, this is another design that with a few tweaks will be really, really good. Like, I think the best bit for me is this kind of swirl. This swoosh is a beautifully different way of separating images from solid color. Really, really cool. But yeah, the font, the alignment, containers for certain parts, and unnecessary details. Just needs a bit of work, that's all. Boom. Thank you very much for submitting that one. Rightio. Let's carry on. Again, this is another one actually. Let's open this. Very, very similar kind of criticism here. I'm not entirely sure what this is. In terms of what graphic it is, whether it's a web graphic or something for print. Medular, fast and clean medical and health theme. Yeah, so the logo, it is what it is. I'm not going to focus and obsess over that too much. Really cool use of having this person here kind of popping out of the shape. And then you've got the shadowing at the bottom. So it kind of looks like they're coming out of the shape. It's that kind of creative thinking that makes things stand out. And it gives this kind of design, which is predominantly flat, it just gives it like a bit of depth. I remember doing this in my earlier years as well, where you kind of have the sort of box or container attached to the side. Yeah, it's fine. I think the good thing about this is it's kind of like these icons act as bullet points, but the big block of white draws your eye to it. So because there's a big slab of white for each line, it does kind of draw your eye there more. The biggest offender, in my opinion, is the text and the typography here. Get rid of that shadow. It doesn't need a subtle shadow like that. The white will stand off this bluey turquoise color just fine. The lines need to be closer together. In my personal opinion, the tracking, that's the spacing between all of the letters collectively, needs to be reduced. You know, we've got it very, very spaced out here. We've got it nice and tight here. And then even more spaced out here. You know, I think it doesn't need to be that vastly different. Spacing here, all of these, right, these lines should line up centrally with this. So I'm going to pick the worst offender here, right? Let's get that. Boom, slide it to the left. You can see it's way off. Well, I say way off, it's a few pixels, but that's a lot for me, right? That's where it should be. Boom, consistent. Down here, boom, you can see it's too high. This one, it's literally a few pixels too high on those three and maybe for all of them. So they need to line up precisely, in my opinion. Yeah, I mean, personally, this text here is the best. You know, the spacing between the lines is just right. Spacing between the letters is pretty good as well. Do you know what I mean? You could literally take that kind of text, have that same format up here and just make it bolder and bigger, and you've got a bit more consistency between the fonts. I think if you're going to make them different, there needs to be like more of a purpose. Like, why are we doing this? Are we doing it just for the sake of it, just for let's mix up the design, or are we actually like increasing the space between the letters because, I don't know, the letters are too close, or do you know what I mean? That try and think of a reason behind doing something for a design rather than just, I'm going to make this big and bold and have a shadow and increase the spacing. That's the way I think about it anyway. I think that's because I'm quite methodical in the way I design stuff. Usually I can explain why I've designed something a certain way because I'm very methodical in how I approach a design. Everything kind of has a purpose. Nothing's random. Unless I'm feeling a bit crazy, and then I might do something that's a bit random. Again, this subscribe, it doesn't line up with anything. Let's have a look. Yeah, it doesn't line up with anything. There's no reason why that couldn't be shifted over and just line up with this text here as well. Also, it needs more breathing space around the edges. This text feels nice and big, but it's too tight within that box. You need a little bit more padding. So, yeah, and the icons are fine. This is a weird one, right? With the icons, you know, how do you align icons? Because here they've aligned them all to the right of the kind of white box, but then actually, if you look down, they're not vertically central. So it's a... And then if you vertically center them, then they're not going to be aligned to the right, and that spacing will be different. So that is a tricky one with doing this approach. If you got rid of the white boxes here, you could align all of the icons centrally, and you probably get away with it, I think. But yeah, again, you know, this is more than functional for what it needs to do, but it's just the little details. Like I said, the things that I pick up on are those little tiny details. Yeah. What do you guys think? So Jal, I've already submitted 2 times in the past. Right. Okay, here we go. Right, I've got one of yours, Sajal. I will definitely do this today. Oh, I remember this one. Okay. In fact, we'll do this now. Okay. Right, this is cool. Photo manipulation time. This is a really cool one. I love this. Yeah, super cool. So we've got kind of like a open field. We've got some trees, mountains, a nice starry sky, shooting star, birds, what looks like a Jeep, and then a person standing on the Jeep, which might be you. I don't know. I'm just guessing here. Right, let's try and find something. This is really, really tight. This is really good. I'm going to try and find something to critique, because otherwise I'm just being useless. So I'm going to find something, not for the sake of it, but there's just a couple little things I think that are standing out to me right off the bat. Okay, love this color fade going from sort of turquoise to purple. I do wonder, I mean, I like the moon, the way it's turquoise and it stands out, but if the color here is kind of blue, would the moon up here mimic that color, or would it be more kind of like the sort of starry nebula cosmic bit over here? Would it be more purple because it's up here? Do you see what I mean? Like lighting wise, because I think this looks like it's very much grounded in reality, in that, you know, you could go and stand on top of your Jeep in the middle of a field. Yeah, the birds are a nice touch. Yeah, got the shooting star over there. Same with the shooting star as well. It's a difficult one. That is a personal preference, because I get what you're doing. You're creating contrast, and you've used that color there, and it does look nice. I'll be honest, it does look nice. Maybe if you blended that in like the sort of the cosmic bit over here, it might not stand out as much. So I'm not going to worry too much about that. And I do like the way the shooting star stands out. So I think the biggest thing that stands out to me is the trees. I kind of feel like there's bits of the trees missing, and it sort of feels like a hard line that runs along here. It feels like the trees have just kind of been stamped down, whereas in reality, like, hang on, let me get a brush or something. In reality, I don't think they would just fit the horizon line like that. I feel like they would sort of, this looks like a bit of a hill as well, so I feel like the trees would kind of follow some sort of contour like that. So you would get some trees here as well, maybe fewer, but you would have some kind of, they wouldn't all just be like in a perfect line. Do you know what I mean? So there's a bit more of a graduation, and maybe you get a bit of grass or something where the trees and that are starting to meet the kind of rocky terrain. Like it wouldn't go from just tree and, I don't know, earthy, naturey things to hard cut rock. Do you know what I mean? Like a little bit of a graduation, perhaps. Same over here. just kind of following that line a bit more. Maybe upping the density a bit. Have a few that are closer, and then maybe add a few little smaller ones in the background, and obviously, like, you know, fill in the missing parts. That's what I would do. There is a PSD file. Okay. Sorry, I'm graffitiing this one. Yeah, I think I would probably make I do quite like that, actually. I know what I said earlier on. I was kind of critiquing it. I do like it. It's very sort of stylized as well. Personally, I would probably make do you know what I would do? And again, like everything I say, take it with a grain of salt. Rather than having this horizontal line here of blue going to purple, I would actually, and I don't know if I can do this now. Might be able to. Let's give it a go. Because you've got the blue bits over here on the moon and the shooting star, I would actually just bring that blue over there. I don't know if there's a blending mode to kind of show this. Yeah, maybe a little bit. I would just kind of bring it up on a bit of a curve, actually, and so it's not just a horizontal line, and it just gives it a bit more of a gradual fade. Maybe something like that. I think the Jeep, yeah, this looks cool. Got the shadow as well, the highlights. I love that flare on the lights. Really nice lighting. I've got the kind of tealy turquoise color over parts of the Jeep. Yeah, it looks good. Nice sort of, and the color as well. You see here, you've got obviously like bits of mud and dirt, but you've got that sort of orangey color, which is sort of reflected from the environment and the lighting around the Jeep as well. So it's good. It looks like it fits there. And then the person on here, they've obviously got that kind of bluey tinge to them on their arms and their clothing, coming from the different elements that are around them. It's a difficult one. The angle of the foot, I would puppet warp that. I would puppet warp that foot so it's a bit flatter, if you can, and then maybe just make those shadows a bit harder. The angle of the foot here feels a tiny bit off, and the shadows are quite soft. Do you know what I mean? It looks like he's standing right on the edge there, like he's about to slip down any moment. But apart from that, yeah, no, and I really do like the way it's kind of very brown and earthy at the bottom. Then you got this sort of band of turquoisey teal and the purple at the top. It's it's really cool, actually. I like that, and I can see. I think you've added some grain as well to the finished thing. Which, I mean, I love a bit of grain in my work as well. I'm a sucker for a bit of grain. Ozar says, I think the background colors are too intense. Just use a white background with some soft blurred light or blue colors. Is that the design from before? I don't know. The illustration is gorgeous. Would have been gorgeous if the peak was above his head, framing the figure. Oh, yeah, maybe. That's a good point. I see what you mean. The mountain kind of peeking up there. Something else you could do is, I don't know if you'd want to, but have a bit more depth of field, so blur stuff in the background ever so slightly to allow the kind of focus to be on the subject and the car. And something else I do in my work is I actually add elements in the foreground. So I might I don't know, I might just go and find like a twig or something or a bit of rock, and what I'll do is I'll have the thing coming up here like it's a branch, and then or maybe some shrubbery or something here in the foreground, and then I'll change the blur on that, so go to field blur and then blur that out of focus so it's something in the foreground, because I love doing that, because again then it frames what's in the center and puts it in focus, and then you can it just creates a bit more depth in the scene. I don't know whether you'd want to do that here, because I mean personally I do quite like it in its simplicity, but that's just another technique I use to kind of create depth. If I'm blurring the background a bit, sometimes I'll throw something right up close to the camera in the foreground, blur it, and then it puts the focus on the subject. which is where I want the focus to be. So yeah, but yeah, really cool. Really, really cool. Very nice. Thank you for thank you for the suggestion. You are very welcome. Thank you for the submission. Anyway, I hope that was helpful. SSS. What is this? Roger. Oh, hello. Is this you, video maker? It says Roger in capital letters, so I'm going to assume this is you. We have an ice cream. This wouldn't be inspired by a certain Thursday stream, would it? Oh, that looks way better. I love that. Nice. Strawberry, vanilla, and chocolate. The Holy Trinity. Neapolitan ice cream. Oh, me, indeed. Excellent. Yeah, this is really cool. For anyone who doesn't know, we made an ice cream on stream last Thursday, and it was a lot of fun. A lot of fun indeed. I'm a sucker for grain. I am a sucker for grain. Especially if I'm introducing 3D elements. If I'm like on Envato Elements and I'm grabbing 3D objects and stuff. 3D objects are predominantly very clean. They're like perfectly smooth surfaces, blah, blah, blah. Photographs usually have some grain or some noise on some level. So if you're mixing 3D with photographs, just add a little bit of noise to your 3D objects and it will blend them a bit more seamlessly with the photos. Or wait till you've done the entire design and then just add noise to everything in one kind of fell swoop at the end. It just helps it hang together a bit more. Rightio. Yeah, ice cream. Okay, and I like this. It's nice and simple, and this is really cool as well. Shadow here down the left. You know, it's cool you got the flat style, but then it's nice to add these shadows and highlights like this as well, because it just looks really cool. I think, what color is this? Black. And I bet you've multiplied this. Have you multiplied it? Where's your blend-in mode? No. Opacity? How is that blended? Interesting. Huh. Well, it's blending through somehow. That is eluding me. But my point is, I think it works up here. I think here it doesn't work quite as well. And it's kind of similar to shadows. You know, like, let's just grab some pink here. Pink fluffy candy floss cloud. Lovely. Like, if I'm adding shadows to this, right? In fact, let's add some more pink. Try and add something like this. I don't know. I'm not sure where I'm going with this. Maybe we'll try a lighter pink. Right, okay. If I'm adding, let's add a drop shadow. Just pretend this is just like candy floss clouds or something, all right? If you're adding a shadow to this, do not use black, all right? Don't do it. Even if you make the opacity like 20, you just, no. Do you know what I mean? Like, shadows are great for adding depth, but what you want to do is get the color picker, and instead of using black, because what happens in, you know, the real world is that shadows aren't just black. If your shadow is being cast on a surface with a certain color, you've got to take into account the color of that surface blending with the shadow. So this is a light pink fluffy candy floss cloud, and it's on top of a darker one. So the shadow should factor in this surface underneath. Obviously that's too light. So then what you do, so try and match the color, try and match the background color. That's a good place to start. And then just go down and to the right. In fact, let's start by cranking up to 100, because you can go too dark. We can go all the way down here. You know, this isn't black still. We've still got some saturated color in there. And then now I've got that as 100%, right? I've got a really, really dark purple, pinky color, whatever. Now, once I've got the hue and the right kind of, I'm on the spectrum in the right place, then I can dial it back. And you can see the difference now. All of these different opacities look so much more pleasing because I factored the color of the background into my shadow's color. And it's exactly the same thing with these as well. You know, that part there on the pink shouldn't be black as it is with a opacity blend or whatever's going on. Pick the pink and then make it darker. I don't know if I can show this actually. Could I knife tool this? Let's try and do that. We'll do that. We'll do it very lazily for now. Ah, there we go. I gotcha. There's the black. Right. Let's try and shape build this. There we go. Oh no, black ice cream. Good lord. We do not want that. Let's try and make this stream educational as well. So we've got the black there. You know, we could dial it down. But nope. Instead, we're going to sample the same color. We're going to go and pick something down here. Obviously that's too harsh, but then now we've got the right kind of hue, we can dial it back a little bit. And I think that's always going to look a bit more appealing than just using black. Does that make sense? Hopefully that makes sense. I've tried to explain that as best I can. Sema says just the cone of ice cream doesn't look realistic. Yeah, I think so. And this is I think that's the thing that needs work. But I've got to be honest, when we did this on stream the other day, like, I was pretty surprised. I think it was a bit of an accident. You probably saw the reaction. I was like, oh wow, we've made a cone, and it kind of it looked all right. I was pretty pleased with it. I thought it would take a lot more work to get it looking good, and it just sort of accidentally happened. The archaic way. I'm terrible with shadows. Yeah, it's one of those things that I think that doing photo manipulation a lot more in Photoshop, you get better at them. And I think if you've done any work with 3D, when you're doing 3D, you've got to play around with lighting and lights cast shadows, and so you kind of definitely get more experience in understanding how shadows work. But even doing that, like, I still find lighting quite difficult. So I have to look at a two-dimensional design and try and imagine it in a 3D space and think, okay, where is the light? Sometimes it's good to just draw a big arrow on the design. Okay, it's coming from the top, so I need to make the top of the object brighter, and then underneath, okay, how is the shadow going to be cast? And in fact, actually, if you've got a torch handy, just get an object that's maybe a similar shape and hold the torch up in a darkened room and study the shadow. That's probably the best advice, is to kind of, just become familiar with how shadows behave. Nice tip for shadow. Yes, hopefully that's helpful anyway. It's kind of like when people draw characters, when you draw characters, you need to understand about the muscles and the human body and the human form and everything, and you will get better at drawing characters. It's kind of a similar principle with, being able to artistically draw and illustrate lighting and shadows and stuff in your work. It's just getting practice with the real world kind of lights and shadows and how it all works, The robot says this accounts for ambient occlusion. Yeah, I guess that's what it'd probably be. It's the same sort of thing, I guess, in the vector version. The squid ink ice cream is back. Mitsubitsu, I'm pretty sure the squid flavor was your idea as well. So, you take full credit for that, even if that credit is not favorable. It's being directed at you. I had nothing to do with it. I'm just the tool. Right. Yeah, so I think the cone here, the thing with the cone is it's kind of like you've added the shadow and the highlights here, which is sort of what I did actually, that didn't work out in the end. And that's kind of like trying to add 3D, but then the texture you've got running over the ice cream's flat, which I think is what mine did as well, actually. So what I think both of us should do on our ice cream is perhaps take the texture itself Actually, I probably should have done this on the stream and go like envelope distort and warp it. Not like that, but just not warp the object, just warp just the texture, so it has a little bit more of a less flat aesthetic to it. But yeah, pink candy floss clouds and shadows aside, yeah, this is really, really cool, and I love making stuff like this just for fun. It's great practice as well. Even the pattern on the cone, you know, to be able to create that, first you've got to make the pattern. So yeah, really, really cool. Thank you very much, Roger, for that submission. Lovely jubbly. Okay, let's do a few more. Oh wow, I've got to do this one. This one's got a freaking tiger on it. No. Yes, it is done. You are very welcome, Roger. Excellent. Oh, hello. Phase Runner has joined us. Hello, sir. Welcome. Glad to catch this in real time, watching the master at work. Oh, stop it, you. You're going to make me blush. If anyone's the master of Photoshop, it's this fella here in the chat, Phase Runner. Honestly, check out his videos and his work. It is incredible. Right, what do we got here? Oh, photo manipulation. Speaking of photo manipulation, you've joined just at the right time. We've got a tiger with some wings. I mean, I'm biased. I love tigers. When tigers fly, I mean, my God, when tigers fly, that will be a terrifying day. Doesn't really bear thinking about. But anyway, text-wise, it's kind of hard to read. It's a cool font. Kind of hard to read. I would probably just, maybe it sounds boring, just go straight white. Boom, you can read it. You know, I think if you're going to add texture and depth to it in shadows and you want to go for a more realistic look, you kind of really got to commit to it. Add some beveling, a bit more lighting, a bit more depth to the text so it doesn't feel so flat. I think just having text and slapping a texture on it, you know, it still feels a bit flat. So I would kind of build on that more, make it look more realistic, more metallic, metally, grunge it up, texture it, or just go with something clean and simple and remove the texture. We've got a badge here. National Tiger Conservation Authority. Cool. Okay. Got to look after those tigers. 3168 and counting. Oh, I'm guessing that's how many tigers they've got. That's good. I've got no idea if that's a good number or a low number, but yeah. And there's a logo over here, which I guess means something. I don't like it sitting over here on the right when everything informative is on the left, but I don't know, maybe that means something important. Anyway, let's focus on the tiger. So this is a really cool photo of a tiger. I can't tell. That looks like it might have been mid-journeyed or something, because those eyes, they don't look like real eyes. So there might have been a bit of something in there. But regardless, it is very, very cool. We've got the wings as well. I think there's like a bit of a blur to the wings, but that yeah, it feels like there's a bit of blur to the wings, and I would say like, oh, this is motion blur, which would make sense, right? Having some motion blur. But then the tiger doesn't have any motion blur on him. So I think if you're going to have the wings, they either need to be in focus as well, and then blur certain parts perhaps towards the edges, or like you need to treat, if you're going to have motion blur, you need to treat the tiger and the wings as one kind of thing, you know, because they're probably, let's be honest, he's charging forward, they're going to be moving at the same sort of pace. If anything, I think the legs would be blurred. Do you know what I mean? Because he's running really fast. That's where you're going to get your motion blur as well. But it does look really cool. Down here, bit of an over-reliance on blending modes. So you get these sort of, do you see what I mean? You got these kind of lines here and certain bits blending through. So I would probably brush some of that away and tidy it up a little bit. Ooh, I've just realized I've got the tiger on a separate layer. Huh. I can do all sorts. Way! No, calm down, Dan. Stop being silly. Right, around the edge of the tiger as well, you've got this kind of, you know, you can cut this out a little bit more, and you can go up to select a mask, and you've got loads of features and tools there to refine things, especially hair. So that it makes refining hair in Photoshop literally a one-click cutout job. So I would do that as well. Again, you kind of got this sort of, yeah, I mean, I've done this as well. You know, you try and blend different parts together and you rely on those blending modes, and then if you actually zoom in, it's just like a blend. Whereas I think what it's better to do is actually build the scene out layer by layer rather than just blending moding them together. Blending moding them, does that make sense? Using blending modes to blend them. I've done that before. I mean, that's probably worthy of its own kind of separate video or something, because yeah, it's something I used to do as well, and when I stopped doing it, it made my work a lot better. I love this kind of this sand or whatever it is flying up in the air. Again, down here, this sort of looks pixelated and a bit out of focus. Couple of hard edges here, got to watch out for those. Mask them away and soften those edges. Again, you can see here, once you see it, like at first glance, it's like epic tiger, but once you see the blends and stuff, it's really hard to unsee it. And for the sand explosions, what I'd be tempted to do, right? And for some of the particles, is I would use brushes, because you can use realistic brushes and things and sand explosions and all that, but you can also use brushes. In fact, a video I'm working on at the minute, I was using photographs of fire, and in the end it was actually better for me to use a brush and stamp my own fire and then do a few things to make it look realistic, because then you've got those particle effects on a transparent background, so you've not got to worry. You don't have to use blending modes to try and blend the background or whatever into the image. Yeah, so that's all I would say. Is I think conceptually you're on point, but it's just the retouching just needs a little bit of work, and there's a bit too much of a reliance on blending modes, and your blur and needs to be consistent, and your tiger cutout needs to be just done a little cleaner. You know, I'd clean that up, and then what I would do, in fact, again, this is another technique I used in this new video that is coming. It's just taking a blooming long time to do. Now this is much easier with a tablet, but just smudge tool at 70 to 85, 90% or whatever. Just add those hairs back in. Just give them some hair. This is a great way if you're cutting something out and you don't get a particularly brilliant cutout. Obviously, I'm doing this lazily with a mouse, right? But if you don't get a good cutout, don't worry. Just go and redraw the hairs in by smudge tooling the existing hair. So even if you cut it out with the pen tool and your fur has like a block hard edge, which is awful, just smudge tool it out and redraw those hairs. The wings look painted. Yeah, there's something not quite right. Oh, Max Art, Phase Runner and Dansky, you guys are two of my main inspirations. You guys needed to collab. Haha, maybe one day. I think we actually live quite close to each other, I think Phase Runner is in Wales and I'm just outside Bristol, so I don't know, I guess we're probably like maybe an hour or two away from each other, something like that. Maybe one day. I've been laughing for half an hour at how you turned the animal around. Oh, what, doing this? I mean, I think technically that was 10 minutes ago, so I don't know how you've defied time to laugh at that, but I do appreciate it. Thank you. Ha. Thank God tigers don't have wigs. I know. Whew. That would be something, wouldn't it? We would all be a bit screwed then. As majestic as they are. Rising up back on the street. Did my time, took my chances. No, I'm not singing that. Rising up. No. We're not going there. fake depth of field would make it look better. Yeah, I think so. I think you gotta be consistent with it. What comes to mind when I see a tiger? I actually played the Eye of the Tiger at the weekend for something. I can't remember what it was actually. The tiger could have stronger highlights. Yeah, I think actually that's a really good point. And now you've said that, I think, yeah, it's cool. It sort of feels really cool and very muted. It doesn't have a clear light direction. I think this is quite a dramatic shot. It's pretty crazy, right? A tiger with wings charging you down, blasting through the sand. Pretty epic. But I mean, I don't know why he's kind of in this rocky mountain desert. He must have got lost or something. But because it's such an epic cinematic shot, you could actually have some more dramatic lighting as well. So you could literally decide that, you know, your light source is up here and you're going to add some highlights. There we go. There we go. Blue highlights. Like that around the edge. And then you might have some more shadows down here because obviously the light's coming from the top right. So you've got a lot of shadowing, some shadowing here, possibly even a bit around the eyes, which kind of can create a bit more mystery as well, I think. You know, a lot of this is in shadow, and then you've got this dramatic rim lighting. That would be tough. I'll be honest, that would be tough, but very doable. You then obviously need to apply that lighting to the surrounding environment and the wings and all the feathers, which becomes a nightmare. And then you've got to add a shadow for the tiger as well. That's not a shadow. Let's undo that very quickly before we get demonetized. So you've got to, yeah, there's a lot of things you've got to consider when you go down the lighting route. I mean, if you've ever seen any of FaZe Runner or Benny's videos, when they start adding like highlights and things, or they add light sources, you've got to then add the highlights and the shadows to all the other stuff in the scene. So, you know, it kind of, it makes it better. It definitely makes it better, and you must do it, but it does take time. Just know that when you're going into it. Cantone says, do you review Behance portfolios? Not typically. I mean, I'm not averse to doing that. I think if we're going to do portfolios, though, we'd need to maybe pick like, I don't know, 3 or 4 and go through multiple designs from someone's portfolio rather than doing loads of designs, you know, because I think portfolios tend to be rather large. Hello, Dansky. Happy to catch you live. I always enjoy watching your videos. Amazing. Thank you. Hopefully they're helpful. I like the font When Tigers Fly. I've not seen that, but I'm definitely going to have to check that out. Right, what time are we on? Oh my goodness, it's 4:30. Right. Let's just speed through a few more. Oh, there's so many that I'm not going to get to. Do you know, I don't know. We'll have to see how it goes, I think. I think what I might have to do next week maybe is just have a couple of weeks with no new work submitted, and then I can just round up loads of work from previous weeks that people have submitted, and then I've got enough designs people have sent in for like, you know, months. So maybe I could just pause the submissions for a couple of weeks and then go and round up those designs I've not got time to look at, and then bundle them into one. I don't know, just an idea. Just an idea. Right, let's find one more. Oh, Vogue. Very, very cool. Oh, is this... you mentioned this, didn't you? The lingerie one. It's fine. Like I said, we're not averse to a bit of lingerie. We ain't scared. We ain't scared of no lingerie. Right, what am I doing? Okay. Vogue concept design. Oh, cool. Wow, I mean, let's just look at the cover. I mean, that's an amazing cover. I mean, I don't know. Where did you get your image for this? Was this like a particular image that you found, or did you Photoshop it together, or is this like Mid-Journeyed or something? Where did you find this image, just out of interest? Because this image is amazing. It does so much of the work. You know, you've got the model in this very interesting pose. But then you've got the water ripples coming out the bottom. You've got the reflection of the surrounding landscape in the water. You've got the landscape that's blurred. You've got some kind of trees and foliage up here that's a bit more in the foreground, which kind of nicely sort of frames the edge, actually. You didn't need to add that, but I think it quite nicely frames everything. And the lighting on the background, as you can see, you've got this sort of purpley, yellowy sunrise or sunset, and you can see that on the skin as well. If I just zoom in a bit, you can kind of see that sort of purpley hue there on the skin, and you've got the yellow, and yeah, no, it's a really good shot. And I love this kind of sunburst on the bottom of the V and the O, kind of coming from the light. It's a really nice way to involve the Vogue logo with what's happening in the scene. And then around the edge, we've got the usual kind of stuff. Someone's lingerie and swimwear collection, blah, 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 blah. Obviously not for me. The only thing I don't like, actually, I'm just going to point out, is this one here. Barbara Palvin. Not Barbara Palvin, I don't know who that is. I'm sure she's lovely. But the kind of, the smudge thing. I don't know. The grunge smudge, I really just don't like it. And I don't like it on an angle either. That's literally the only thing. I think as an image, that is incredibly striking and an excellent kind of cover image. What do you guys think? The presentation is really nice, says the Archaic Way. Yeah. I manipulated these images. Well, I mean, that is blooming excellent. Really, really nice. Oh, also, I've just noticed another thing now. I'm going to be a pain. Just the text at the bottom, new season of lingerie. It feels off to the left. So I would just bring that into the middle and keep it centered. But yeah, really nice cover. Let's just quickly skim through. Lots of... Oh, there's a bigger one there. I could have just used that. Same criticism though. Yeah, the text was off to the left. Just center that a bit more. Oh yeah, you see what I mentioned earlier about the depth of field? Some of this foliage stuff up here is kind of blurred because it's close to the camera. And so you got the kind of stuff close to the camera up here, you've got the subject in focus, and then you've got the background that is blurred, and it really helps create and sell that depth of field. I love the way she's kind of sat in the water, and you've got that you got the reflection in there. Yeah, that's so cool. That is such a cool image, man. Well done. Well done. And then layout wise, yeah, really cool. Interesting. Got these shapes and things. Kind of like a sort of part of a circle there. Ruby and Frisky, newest design. Yeah, it's a good font as well. I mean, this is very, very kind of... I don't really read Vogue. I'm not familiar with what Vogue is typically, but this feels very, very punchy. Oh yeah, that's a really cool image as well. Same sort of treatment. You got that kind of purpley hue. But you can see like a really kind of consistent style throughout. Yeah, really nice. Oh, right. Oh, you got the breakdown. This is so cool. Wow, so you've done all of these. Again, yeah, you got those elements there framing the shot out of focus, and it just puts that emphasis on the subject as well. I'm glad you did that, seeing as we were talking about it earlier. They're so cool. Oh, well done. That's my favorite though. That is definitely my favorite. I absolutely love that shot. That's really, really cool. Oh yeah, that is awesome. That is awesome. I love the color as well. The color and the way the color is consistent between the subject and the background. In fact, actually, if you're balancing colors, obviously you can see here she's not the same color in the original photo. Use a color balance adjustment layer in Photoshop to kind of achieve that sort of matching of the color with the background. That's the one that helps you kind of balance two images together. But yeah, design wise, you know, it's clean and simple. Blocks of text. You got the pictures showing off the lingerie. You've got these kind of shapes, like I said before. You've got shapes kind of, yeah, they're sort of used as interesting containers or devices to kind of cut things off. So you've got this kind of semicircle here. Let's just zoom in on that one. You've got kind of a semicircle here. Then you've got part of what would be a box, but then it's kind of cut off by the circle, but then she's popping out of the box which just kind of, there's like a lot of it. It looks very layered up, and like there's a lot of depth to it, which I like. And you've got the leaves here. You can see the leaves coming out of the image as well, which is cool, because then it kind of makes it feel like the photo is almost like 3D. It's kind of making me want to try this, actually. This is, yeah, really nice. Love it. That is excellent. Pretty cool concept. Nice. Oh, there's our flying tiger. Right, we're going to do one more. Photo manipulation and logo designing was my main gig for years, so I tried to do something new and started learning more about stuff like magazines and newspapers. Cool. Photo manipulation is awesome. I love it. Love it. Awesome work, Max Art, says Mwendwa. Mike Phelps, looks fantastic. I'd just say the colour in the photo makes it seem cold, which clashes a bit with the swimwear environments. That is a good point. Good work. I like the effect of sun rays affecting the O. Yeah, that's really cool. It's a great way to kind of, you know, create synergy between the logos or the typography and the image as well. If you can kind of interlink them and blend them together, or make them, I don't know, wrap around each other, or it's always going to look good. It really is. I definitely want to read a Vogue magazine now. Seriously love the design. Yeah, that was cool. That was really cool. Oh, right. We're just going to do one more to finish off. Let's just try and find another one. Ooh, what's that? Ha, is this a... This looks like a 3D illustration. Let's open up this one. Ignore. It is. I believe this is by Roger as well. Okay, 3D illustration, let's go. Really interesting. So this is a really good way to actually practice, is to get the real world photo, study the lighting and try and mimic it. Yeah, I think in this one, the shadow would be on top and bottom. Same for the nib, you're going to have a shadow top and bottom, and I'd probably just round off those endpoints as well. This part of the pencil, that I forget what it's called, this specific part, I would kind of try and add some of that wooden texture. You know, when you kind of sharpen the pencil, add a bit of that texture in there. Made in Germany. I'd scooch that text up into the middle, just because. Yeah. Yeah, I think the lighting kind of goes through the middle, and you've got the shadow or sort of darker areas on both top and bottom, which I think actually that's what really kind of helps sell the roundness of the pencil and gives it a bit more depth, having that shadow around the edge. And then I would just maybe have that sort of highlight on the end as well, just try and include that, because at the moment you've got the shape and then it just runs exactly straight, and there's no like the light doesn't taper off or anything with the contours of the pencil. It's just kind of like, it's just a horizontal line, do you know what I mean? Whereas if it were to like taper off in some way or sort of fade out, I think it would help make it look a bit more realistic. In fact, maybe we could do that on Thursday. We could do some vector illustration stuff like this if you wanted to see anything like that, because I've done quite a few probably more tech product illustrations, like a stylus and a laptop and things, and I've made them look pretty realistic, kind of close to what you'd make in Blender actually. But it's something I haven't ever really shown. I make a lot of stuff off camera, and I just nobody ever sees it. So I don't know, maybe we could do some illustration on Thursday if that's something you'd be up for. Right, we'll do one more. That was just a little quick sidestep. All right, one more. Yes, seam unfinished. Yeah, I think it just needs it's the pencil's quite simple anyway, but I think it just needs a little bit more with the lighting, top and bottom. Okay. We'll finish with this one. Oh, where's it gone? Actually, no, we've done that one. Let's find one from someone who hasn't had their work reviewed yet. Here we go. This one. Cool. Right. Okay, so this is a logo for the Jen's Bakeries and Pastries. Okay. This is interesting. Right. I like the big circle on the outside. It kind of frames everything, and I like the way the text kind of comes through it as well. And it kind of cuts off. I like that. I've done that in a few of my logos as well, and it's a nice touch. I don't know what these circles are on the right hand side, but get rid of them because I don't know what they are. I'm not entirely sure what this kind of spring is either. I'd probably be tempted to get rid of that as well, because it doesn't make me think about bakeries or pastries. If you were going to go for like a retro sort of style logo or have some sort of pattern there, that's fine, I get that. But I think the spring, that ain't it. That ain't the one to go with. We've got Jen's Bakery and Pastries. I'm not crazy about the font. I like the sort of the hand scripty brush style approach. But I'm personally very picky when it comes to using those types of fonts. And there's got to be one that is just right for me to kind of use this sort of script style font. Personally, do you know what I'd do in this instance? I would find a font that is pretty close to what I like, and then if there were certain characters I didn't really like the J, I'm just not feeling it, and there's a few characters that I'm just not loving. I would probably draw it myself, and then I can kind of, once I've drawn the letters myself, I've got control over all the shapes and I can kind of tweak them. Do you know what I mean? I don't know why it's the Jen's Bakery and Pastry Shop. That doesn't really make sense. Doesn't really read. Jen's Bakery and Pastries. It's fine. I don't think you even need the word shop. Every flavor has a story. That's nice. I like that. That's nice. I think treatment-wise, I'm going to start sounding like a broken record. It's the same feedback again. It all comes back to spacing. So here we've got a nice big gap, and here tiny gap, here with tiny gap as well. This gap along here should be consistent. Yeah. Because it almost is, but it's just quite not, and it looks like a mistake rather than an intentional design decision. So that should be consistent there. Lose the wire spring. I don't know what these random circles are as well. Get rid of them. They don't need it. Let's not worry about the font for now, because that's a personal thing. So keep the font, fine, whatever. Get rid of these bits of text, the and shop. The problem that you're going to have is, even with this design, before you kind of do anything to it, is you've got this big space here, and that's a bit of a problem, because it makes the whole design feel very top heavy. So let's go through. I'll see if I can do this really quickly. What I'd probably be tempted to do is actually lengthen the hat. So lengthen that hat illustration. And let's just get rid of this. I'm not going to go around and get rid of all the wire, because that would take me a few minutes, and that's not that fun to watch, I don't think. But I would just get rid of it. So we've got this here. Make that much more of a focus, and then I don't know how this will work, but let's try it. Just literally cut all this away. I'm just going to do this super quick. So the text is still clearly legible. So I'm sort of using the similar treatment to what they've done on the outside, where they've kind of cut away. So the illustration of this kind of chef's hat is still very clearly identifiable as that thing, but it doesn't interfere with the text. That's what I'm going for anyway. And obviously you do this properly. Don't brush it like I'm doing. I'm just doing this to kind of show you what I mean. And I think, yeah, with some of these curves, you could probably do that as well and make it look really nice. Something like that. And this is the kind of logo as well that would work really nice as like a stamp. The archaic way, are they supposed to be like the texture on the side of pies? I'm guessing you mean... Are you on about this or the circles? If you mean this... Oh, sorry, do you mean the lines? If that's... Yeah, that's not the side of a pie. It doesn't look good. I know what you mean. If you're going for like a crust or something, you know, that could potentially work instead of the solid border, but this literally looks like a spring. So I would lose it. And I don't think you need it. In fact, I'm going to get rid of these circles as well, just because they're annoying me. I don't like these circles. So this is the kind of logo that would work really, really nicely in a single solid color. So actually, let's go and do that. Oh, no, not like that. Can I take the color out of it? Maybe. I really want to get rid of those springs, but they would take a... Actually, no. Okay, I'm going to get rid of the every flavor has a story text. I'm going to do something that will get rid of the springs very, very quickly. But I will remove that text as well. Giant brush. Oh wait. Oh no. Oh, I've lost the logo as well. Hang on. Right, let's all calm down. I got an idea. Well, you'll do white instead. We'll do white. Stamp it in. Stampy, stampy, stamp. We'll add a layer mask. Then we'll bring back the lettering. I'm halfway there, so I'm going to commit to it now and just sort of finish trying to demonstrate what I am trying to demonstrate. So again, that still feels a little bit top heavy, so I would lengthen that chef's hat down. That's the kind of design that, you know, you could definitely lengthen that. Yeah, I think that's the kind of thing. If you were going to go with that font, that's how I would clean it up. There's probably a lot more you could do to that. Personally, you could even have the text running around the outside, Jen's Bakery and Pastries. But if you wanted the chef's hat in there in a way that kind of fills that space, I would make it bigger and have it be like more of a prominent feature rather than the original where it was kind of up here in the top and you had this big gap at the bottom and the wire around the edge. And I think there's definitely a route forward, you know, regardless of what you do with the border, there is definitely a route forward there where you could actually get this looking really good in a single color. And of course, you know, as I say with any good logo design, if you can get it looking good in a single color, when you start introducing colors, it's gonna look just fine, you know. And I think the best logos do work in a single color, because sometimes a client will say, hey, I want to print in black and white because it's a heck of a lot cheaper printing 50,000 of something in a black and white print. And so if the logo you design doesn't work in black and white, then that's going to be a problem. That chef's hat looks like a broccoli. What is the chance that you review the project I sent like 3 streams ago? I don't know what project that was, unfortunately. I get so many entries, like I've said. I was saying earlier about trying to maybe next time we'll put a block on new submissions, and I'll go through the old ones that people have submitted and try and do that in a stream, because I've got so many submissions that they would last me like months. So maybe we'll round up a few of the other ones that I haven't had time to review, and we'll bundle them together and review them. That might be the way to do it, I think. HQ says, and also there's a lot of empty space in the center. Dansky is opening a bakery shop. Yes, I am. It's a terrible idea. I love pastries too much. I would literally eat all of them. Dansky, why didn't you tell us about your new business of pastries? Hey, I was getting to it, all right? I'd get 3 croissants from you. Yeah, well, you know, the old side hustle. Dansky pastries, that could be a thing. We could do that on Thursday. Come up with a Dansky pastry logo. That'd be fun. A little croissant. Not good in a single color because the chef's cap looks like a punch. I'm not seeing it personally. I know what you mean. I mean, if it was going to look like a punch, I think it would be thrown from like a dog or a cat, because it looks kind of like a paw. I don't think there's any reality where this chef's hat looks like a human hand, unless the person has really chunky fingers that spread all the way around the hand. Do you know what I mean? Like, I think you could definitely, you could make the argument it looks like a broccoli for sure. But yeah, if you were going to do this, I would, like I say, lengthen it down. Just make sure it's definitely recognizable as a chef's hat. And, you know, if it was me designing it, I would probably show that to some people who A, aren't designers, and B, who have not been involved in the project. Because if it doesn't look like a chef's hat, you know, you're going to show it to people and they're going to give you a very blank stare and say, oh, I've got no idea what that is. And that's usually a pretty good indicator. Whosem8, what's the best design you've ever made in your career? My goodness, what a question. Oh, I don't even know how to answer that. Ooh. Best design, that's a difficult one. Thing I'm probably most proud of would be, I think, my entry for Benny Spooky Edit War, not the one just gone. I was very proud of that. What I did, I really did like that. But the one before, it was like you had like 7 or so different images, and you had to try and make something using those set images. And I ended up making like a tentacle house. It was evil and all that stuff for Halloween. And it took me literally something like 20, 30 hours. I can't even remember. It took me a ridiculous amount of time. And there is actually a video on my channel. Is there? Yes, I think there is a video on my channel. It's like a purpley house. And in fact, I'll link it. I'm really proud of it, actually, so I will link it. Because, yeah, I was just the reason I was so proud of it was because I think at the time I didn't think I could actually pull it off to the level that I wanted to. You know, in my head it was like this amazing design, but technically I wasn't sure if I could actually pull it off quite how I wanted. Yeah, I'll throw it in the chat. This is the video for that design. So I made the design first, and then I put together a video kind of entering to the competition, and it turned out really well. And I love the video as well, because the video is really dramatic, and the music and everything. So every time I'm kind of feeling a little bit down, or if I'm feeling like, oh, I'm not feeling like a good designer today, or any of that kind of negative crap that, you know, gets in our heads sometimes, I just sometimes watch one of these videos that I've made where I've designed something really cool and I've actually done it in a really cool video as well, and it really does make me think, you know, actually, no, you're all right. You're okay. You're good. And it's a nice little kind of memory to have as well. Not just the actual end result, but documenting and screen recording the whole process as well. So if you are designing something, sometimes it's fun to just throw on a screen recorder and just look back at it after and, you know, watch it back. Dansky Pastries and Tape Shop. Oh my god, tape. Let him cook. What are you lot on about? I feel like you just all turned me into some sort of like a professional chef starting up my own pastry business in the last like 10 minutes. I'm here like working on Jen's bakery logo and you're like, hey, it's Chef Dan. Oh, funny. Let him cook. Hamza says, did you ever try to design user interface? Yes, I did UI design for years. I did it for a company. I did it as a freelancer as well. Predominantly, that was what I was doing a lot of my time. Doing with a lot of my time was UI stuff. The thing is now, though, that, you know, a lot of UI design kind of is much more practical when you have clients and projects and things. I don't have any clients or projects these days, so the drive for me to want to create UI design is a lot less than it was because there's no real purpose to it. And that's why I use a lot of Photoshop and Illustrator nowadays, is because I can use those programs to create, I guess you could say, more artistic stuff that, like, I make stuff that I want to make rather than stuff that is designed to solve a problem, if that makes sense. I've done that for years. Now I just want to make pretty things. It would be great if you open one of your most proud designs and talk us through about it, guide us through it, tell us a story about it. Oh yeah, maybe we could do that. We could do that sometime. Maybe we could do one week. We could do review my work, actually, and I could critique my own work, and then you could critique it as well and tell me what you think, if it's good or bad. That'd be fun. What's the one great thing you've learned from the field of designing? My goodness, you've got the loaded questions today. One good thing. Oh, I mean, I think if I had to pick anything, it's never stop learning. You never stop learning in this game. Not in my opinion, you don't anyway. And I don't think I will ever truly achieve mastery in anything I do, because I don't even think mastery exists. And I think even if you become like a master of something, you're always gonna learn something. You know, you could be a master of anything, and you might be surprised one day when one of your students does something that you hadn't thought of, you know. And so I think even someone who is like an expert or a master or whatever, it's still possible to learn from other people. So that would be my thing that I've learned, is that the realization that, you know, I'm never going to stop learning, and there's always going to be new things to learn and to figure out and discover. And I think that's true, especially in design, because even using Photoshop and Illustrator, like I've been using them for blooming years now, and then I'll stumble across a post somewhere or a video, or I'll just figure something out and be like, oh my god, how have I never known this before? And it'll be like a better way of doing something. That stuff happens all the time, even now, even after like I said, 17 years of being in the game professionally. I'm still learning new things, and it's awesome. And it's cool because I can then teach that to other people, and you know, other people can teach me things, and we're all just kind of teaching each other. So yeah, that was my very long-winded answer to your question. Hopefully it was a helpful answer. Sema says, are you thinking of making a Dansky vlog video? How is your day and work? No. I did a desk video a while ago. The reason with vlogs is that they take too much time to produce. Like, I could throw together one very kind of homemade style. Maybe we'd do that on a stream or something. I could do a stream from my phone and I could walk you through my studio or my setup if you'd like that. I don't mind doing that. But doing I like making videos where I can put a lot of time and polish onto it, and a vlog and all the handheld movement and stuff. It takes loads of time to make and edit, and it just isn't my kind of style of video. But just watch the video you linked. Freaking awesome, dude. Oh, amazing. Thanks, Benny. Yeah, it's took a while, that one. You sounded really philosophical while answering the one great learning, but great indeed. Yeah. That is what I think. Yeah, it's kind of cool. And being a dad as well, not just a designer. I'm a dad of 2 boys, and it's just like the amount of things that they actually teach me. Even though I'm trying to teach them and raise them, they teach me stuff all the time. You know, like sometimes it's just fun to be a childish idiot and run around and, you know, play with toys and just, you know, be a bit of a clown and have fun. You know, so yeah. Anyway, I think that's a good place to end it there. Thank you so much to everyone for submitting work. As always, apologies I couldn't get to everybody, but yeah, we might wrap up all the other designs I've not been able to get to, and we'll maybe do that in an upcoming stream, I think, just because there's so many fantastic submissions, and I need more time to be able to get through them all. But guys, you've all been fantastic. Thank you so much once again for joining. It really does mean a lot to me that the same fantastic people show up to every stream. It's amazing. Right, I'm going to leave it there. And have a fantastic rest of your week. And on Thursday, we'll be back at 3 p.m. BST for some more design, whatever that is. We might do some vector realistic illustration. We might design a logo for Dansky's pastry parlor or something. I don't know. That could be funny. Oh, you're all awesome, guys. Take care, and I'll see you later in the week.